that mindset shift, that heart shift, and then those small acts of kindness, like you can do all of those things even if they don't reciprocate.
Right.
Hey, 1 Degree fam, I'm Nathaniel.
And I'm Zan, and this is the 1 Degree Podcast, where we talk about what it looks like to be married as followers of Jesus.
Look, we know that life gets full. Marriage, kids, work, church, sports, the list goes on and on. But we believe that a thriving marriage does not happen by accident.
Each episode will give you real conversations, practical tools, and biblical encouragement to help you connect deeply with your spouse and live on mission together.
So, whether you're folding laundry, driving to work, or maybe even working out, we're glad you're here with us.
Let's dive in. What is up, 1 Degree fam?
What is up, fam? Welcome back to the comfy, cozy, virtual couch. We are so glad. Oh, I forgot leather. Comfy, cozy, virtual leather couch. Welcome back. If you are someone that you have been married, maybe you've been married a year, maybe you've been married 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, but you find yourself taking your spouse for granted. You find yourself, oh yeah, the honeymoon phase was awesome, but we are clearly out of the honeymoon phase. If you find yourself thinking more about what your spouse lacks rather than what they have, then this episode is for you, because today, what were you going to say?
I'm going to say it's even if you don't think all those things apply to you, it's for you. Not to be the cop-out of like this podcast is every episode is...
Everyone, you get this episode and you get this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to...
Oprah over here.
I don't want to say that it's every episode is for everyone, but I feel like you might not realize that you're somebody that takes your spouse for granted, or you might not realize that you've slipped into discontentment or any of these things. So
first we're going to tell you how you're taking your spouse for granted, and then we're going to say, don't take them for granted. That's what we're going to do.
Are we?
No.
Okay. All right, go on. You're in some type of mood.
No, I was just saying that basically I have this big phrase that I love, and it's this idea that ungratefulness breeds discontentment. When we fail to be grateful for what we do have, it's going to lead us to just want more or want something else or want something different. And I think that this is true in marriage as well. When we fail to be grateful for our spouse, then we're going to start to grow discontent in our marriage with our spouse, or we're just going to try to rely on other things to fulfill that desire or contentment. And so...
Yeah, and I don't think, right off the bat, this sounds like really alarming. Like, oh, you don't appreciate your spouse, you're going to go have an affair, or you're going to turn to... I was going to say porn. I don't know if you can say porn. I'm like, on social media, you have to do the icon, the corn. Anyway, it's not... That's not even what we're talking about. It's more just the discontentment, the micro discontentments too.
Yeah,
that lead to nagging or need to just... whatever it is.
Or just avoidance, or like, oh yeah, I just want to try to stay out of my house as long as I can, or just go, like, I work a lot because then I don't have to be home or stuff like that.
Like it's just easier to have our own hobbies. Like that mentality, I think, can be how this manifests.
And I think if you are not intentional to cultivate gratitude for your spouse, it's very easy to slip into those small types of discontentment. And it can be very easy to start taking them for granted. Like all of the things that originally attracted you to them and things that you loved about them, you start to take that for granted and not be grateful for it. And then you become discontent.
Yeah.
It can be very easy. And so I think that, the first question is, okay, why is it important to intentionally cultivate gratitude for your spouse? And the first thing I want to say is there is a caveat I want to give before Zan kind of takes off on why this is important. This isn't...
Am I taking off?
Oh, just taking why it's important. Yeah,
okay.
You're taking off. Go off, queen. But
no, you said that like one or two
slay
episodes
queen
ago.
Yeah.
No.
What I would say is that this cultivating gratitude for your spouse doesn't mean that you're just pretending like everything is okay, or just that you're pretending like they're the perfect spouse and have no room to grow. And so it doesn't mean, just avoid the hard topics, avoid the areas of growth, and just focus on the beneficial, good things that you appreciate about your spouse. No, I think that you should be able to address when there are weaknesses. And we did an episode a few episodes ago about conflict and conflict resolution. I think we titled it Our Favorite Way to Fight. It is important to have conflict and to work through conflict together. And so this episode on gratitude is not just about pretending like everything is perfect. It is about going back to the roots. What?
You said it's not about pretending everything is perfect.
Oh, is perfect. It's about going back to the roots and appreciate the things that you can easily overlook or that you easily take for granted, and remember like why you married them, why you got together in the first place, and all the things that you love about your spouse. Like that's ultimately what it's about, because it can be very easy to focus on like the 1% that's bad rather than the 99% that's good.
Right. Yeah, I don't think gratitude is overlooking faults.
Yeah.
It's just being grateful for those things that aren't faults.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that in general, so this goes within your marriage, in your relationship, and also just in every area of life. But when you focus on gratitude, that's why this is a thing even in the non-Christian world, like gratitude journals and gratitude practices. It shifts your focus from what is missing or what voids there are, or it draws your awareness more towards what you do have and what blessings you do have. And I think from a Christian perspective, we can say that gratitude fosters this heart of contentment. Like Nathaniel said, if ungratefulness breeds discontentment, then gratitude fosters contentment and gratefulness for whatever earthly thing you're grateful for, and then for the Lord as the provider of that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I was just thinking like tying it back to that idea of the Lord's provision. And when you're grateful for what the Lord has provided, like, I don't know, that's what we're called to be as Christians, be content and grateful for what the Lord has provided. And I think when you are ungrateful or discontent, it's ultimately you're ungrateful and discontent with the Lord. Like going back to even Genesis, where God is questioning Adam after the fall, and Adam is like, the wife that you gave me. He wasn't just blaming Eden, he was also blaming God. And I think that's kind of this attitude that even if we don't think it or even if we don't voice it, ultimately our discontentment and our ungratefulness is rooted in we are not content with what God has provided.
Right, for sure. And we're created to glorify Him, and our gratefulness for His provision, and even in the lack of provision, or like the intangible provisions. Yeah, I'm thinking Job. Yep. It's like even when everything's stripped away, our gratefulness for His character is what glorifies Him. And so that is our calling. So yeah, I think that also practically within your marriage, it's going to create emotional intimacy. It's going to strengthen your bond that you have together when you are grateful for those things. I'm sure there's neuroscience to it of like fostering.
Trust us. There's science
behind it. Trust us, it's science support. I'm sure there's some like love hormones or something that are secreted. No, but for real, I'm sure that's how it works.
This non-existent study that we're quoting. No, it works.
I think the reason I'm sure is I've read that before. And by sure, I mean like...
She read it on the internet somewhere, guys, okay?
No, whatever.
I know, I'm kidding.
This wasn't a point. This is my rabbit trail that I'm going. The point is that it fosters emotional intimacy. The point is that it is going to break a cycle in your mind, if nothing else, of cynicism and criticism or comparison, because you are focusing, it's that grass is always greener. And again, this doesn't have to be like thoughts of an affair. This can just be like, oh, it must be nice to have a spouse who wants to work out. It must be nice to have a spouse who helps around the house. It must be nice to have, like, those little thoughts of ungratefulness do, like create a division between you.
Yeah. And I would say even from personal experience, I think when we were first married, we always joked that we never went through a honeymoon phase. And that kind of sounds alarming. But
it does sound alarming.
No, it was just like, I felt like we always felt connected and like we had known each other for a long time. So there wasn't this deep, crazy infatuation phase when we first got married. But I remember when we had first gotten married and moved to seminary and we were in North Carolina, there was a lot of times I would have thoughts of, oh man, I wish Zan would pursue the Lord like this person that I was
Because you were in a seminary context.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about this in the last few months on the podcast. Maybe
but
not.
like around a lot of guys and girls who were like pursuing their MDivs and everything like that.
I would say it just also looked different.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing it very on display.
No, exactly. But it can be and that's a very dangerous road to go down, because then all of a sudden you are comparing your spouse with other women or men, whatever, circumstance you're in, or if you're a girl or guy. But you begin comparing your spouse, and then you start, it can lead down a really deep rabbit hole that, again, like Zan said, doesn't have to lead to an affair, but it can lead to an emotional affair. It could lead to lust. It can lead to
I would call that an affair still.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But like it can lead to lust, and it can lead to a lot of other sinful habits if you don't cultivate gratitude for the spouse that the Lord has given you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, okay, I think we've established the groundwork of
we all know we're supposed to be grateful. Okay, get on with the show.
So get on with the show. I get it. You didn't have to, take 5 minutes to explain why it's important to be grateful for our spouse. So,
should we get in some practical ways?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump to the practical ways.
Let's just rapid fire some practical ways that we had brainstormed prior to hitting record.
Here's my thing, because I'll start it off really quick. I think it starts with your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in order to shift whether you are grateful or not grateful for your spouse, it starts with this mental exercise of like thinking about ways that you're grateful for your spouse. And you might think, oh man, that sounds cheesy, but it's true. Any external action should start with an internal heart change. And so when we're talking about being grateful for our spouse, it starts with thinking about ways that you're grateful for them, thinking about ways that you appreciate them. Every time that like some negative thought of, I wish they were this, or I wish they didn't do this, like replacing that or thinking about 2 or 3 things you are grateful for them for.
Yeah.
I think that's what it starts with, like beginning to look for ways that you appreciate them.
Yeah, your thoughts are so incredibly important in the way that your thoughts inform what your actions are, which then inform your life. And so I think that's the power of holding every thought captive. We see it just in scripture, even that is affirmed, that concept of thoughts being important, and the idea of set your mind on things above. Like, why is it important to do that? Because your thoughts do affect your actions. They affect everything that comes of your life. So anyway, start by thinking about your spouse in positive ways, in ways that you're grateful for them. Dwell on those things. Like when you are, like you said, replacing those thoughts, I think practically what this would look like is, I'm at home and I find that you didn't pick up your basketball bag and your basketball shoes. Real life example from this morning that I found.
Yesterday.
This morning, I cleaned those up. Did ask you about it yesterday, though. Good admission. So instead of thinking about that, I can then in that moment be like, okay, I'm not excusing. So let's actually just flesh this out in real time. It's not like, hey,
it's going
it doesn't.
Down a long rabbit trail right now.
No, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's okay. Like, he probably meant to and he just forgot. It's not about that like false positivity or whatever, but like, hey, you know what? He did do all of these things and I'm grateful for all of these things. Like, it could be as simple as that and in your mind. And it's like, okay, maybe we discuss later, like, hey, can you actually do things? Like, what? Like, can you pick up the things eventually?
Can you actually do what I asked you?
It came out a little harsher than I meant.
It did.
That tends to be the case. Or
you're getting a live looking.
You are getting a live glimpse. But you basically the thing is, like, when you are in your head, not festering, because it can easily turn into, these are all the things I'm angry for. I think about this even with just anyway, we'll go on to the next one. So your thought life matters.
No, yeah.
Okay.
And just to put a bow on that, it's not just avoiding those situations where like, oh man, like I'd asked him to do this and he didn't do it, or she didn't do it. And that's frustrating, but they did other things and, I'm just going to ignore this. No, it's a both and of, hey, I do appreciate that they work so hard or that they did this, this, and this. I'll address this with them when they get home, and it's not going to be in a way that's angry. It's not in a way that's going to get me like riled up or upset. It's just like, hey, could you help me understand? I had asked you to put this away, and I know you did X, Y, and Z, and you did a lot, and I'm really appreciative for that, but could you help me understand what happened here with the basketball bag and the shoes?
Can you help me understand what happened here?
Yeah, no,
It feels passive
okay,
aggressive.
no, it's not.
I
like,
hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, just gently.
Yeah, gently bringing it up. Yes.
All of our things. Just active listening.
Yeah. And then the next step is, I would say, is so you start with your internal thought process, but then turn those, like internally, turn that into action. And so the next step is to regularly voice your appreciation for them on a daily basis, weekly basis. Like oftentimes,
you see something, say something.
See something, say something. But
the good kind.
Something you appreciate. I think oftentimes, like it's so interesting. Like we won't bring up things. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. We will think positive thoughts about someone, but then we won't like bring it up, or we'll bring it up in a really like minor way to them. And I don't know why that is, but like I've had friends be like, hey,
I think we fear it being uncomfortable because people are bad at receiving. Like it can be awkward to receive, even though I think everyone loves to receive a compliment. It can be awkward to know how to respond to it.
Yeah.
And I think we try to avoid that awkwardness.
Regardless, I would say that start by regularly bringing up the ways that you appreciate them. Voice that out loud. And so for us, what that looks like is at the end of our weekly marriage meeting, we share 3 things we appreciate about each other. Like that's how we end every single marriage meeting. You know, we look for ways to say thank you when they do things that you do appreciate, or when they do things that you ask. You know, and I think that saying thank you leads to this idea of them feeling seen, them feeling appreciated, feeling seen, all of those kind of things. And then I think just generally, when you're looking to say ways that you appreciate or things that you appreciate about them, make it as specific as possible, not general. Like, oh man, I think oftentimes it's like, hey, I appreciate you helping out around the house, you know, and that's not bad. It's good to voice your appreciation, but it was like, hey, I was really tired last night. And so I'm so thankful for the fact that not only did you put away the dishes, but you swept the floors and you vacuumed the carpets and you did this, this, and this, you know? And so making it as specific as possible is going to make the appreciation seem a lot more genuine, and it's going to be received even better than it would be before.
Right. Yeah. Or I appreciate that you're a hard worker versus I like see how tired you are. I see how much of a grind it is to go to work every day, and then you come home and you like give it to your family, like you still give effort to your family and those kind of things. Like voicing, I think the more everyone can attest to this from the receiving end, that the more specific a compliment is, the more genuine it feels versus like, hey, I saw a reel or a TikTok today that told me to voice appreciation. So I'm going to just give you this, like, what's the word that I'm going for? Not quaint. Chite? Chite would be the word?
I don't know.
I think that's the word. Like a chite appreciation. I'll look it up later and see if I sound like an idiot.
Okay. But yeah, it's
trite.
Trite. I was going to say
What's chite.
I don't know.
A trite little affirmation.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree.
Oh, it's embarrassing in real time. Okay, another practical way that you could do this for the people that love practical takeaways, I would say you could start a gratitude journal. I think many, many years ago, we might have started this and gotten like a weekend where we would like keep one journal and each of us write in it each night with something we appreciated about the other. I think it was early on in marriage. Obviously didn't keep that up, but I think that would be a good practice or some kind of something like that. So bring us home.
Bring us home? All the way home?
All the way home.
Okay, so this, you might be thinking, okay, this seems really easy. Start by thinking, start by voicing, and then maybe keeping a gratitude journal. And pretty simple.
I think the core of this episode, the sentiment should be simple. So you might be like, wow, this wasn't that deep. Because it's not, because it's focusing on gratitude.
Yeah. And I think I do want to address one thing, because I think the biggest elephant in the room, or the biggest question that someone might have is like, okay, what if my spouse is difficult? What if they are distant? What if I try to, but I just feel like I cannot cultivate gratefulness because this is a really rough season that we're going through. So I think that there's a couple of things that I would say and I would encourage and I would challenge you to do is number one, I would say start by shifting your perspective that gratitude isn't this emotional response to something that they do. Gratitude is what we're called to do as believers. And so it's more so this obedient characteristics rather than this emotional response to something that you wanted them to do. And so I would say that gratitude in hard seasons, it's not fake. It's living out the covenant that you vowed that through thick and thin, through sickness and health, until death do us part. And I think part of that as believers is we should be appreciative of the gift of the spouse that God has given us. And again, that doesn't mean you just excuse sinful behaviors. Sinful behaviors need to be addressed when you bring them up, or you need to go to counseling, or you need to go to therapy, or have those deep conversations. But in general, there are still ways that you can be grateful for your spouse, even when they're cold, even when they're irritable, even when they're emotionally distant. You can be thankful, and you're not being thankful for the hurt. Like you don't have to be thankful that they're emotionally distant or that they're immature, but you're being thankful in the midst of it.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as you were talking, it reminds me of the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is circumstantial. And I mean, a lot of this comes down to how you define them. But I think in general, we've kind of defined them within the Christian world of happiness being, based on your circumstances and fleeting, emotional versus joy is this deep, again, going back to Job, which I feel like I just do a lot.
Yep.
But Job had joy in the worst of circumstances. And I think that, there's just a parallel there.
There is. And so I think I would start with that of starting with, okay, this inward reflection of thankfulness as obedience and gratefulness as obedience. But then, okay, so then practically, what do we start to do? We start to look for the image of God in them. You remember that they are your spouse and they are made in the image of God. Even if they're emotionally distant, even if they're hardened, they're bearing God's image. And so you should then, this is kind of combining with the next thing, but you should ask God then of, hey, show me something or show me some way that they reflect you, even if it's really hard right now, or even if it's buried right now, even if it's really deep. God, how do they reflect you well? What are ways that they bear the image well, even if it's difficult to see? And then I would say, combined with that is pray for your own heart that you would be softened and that you would be able to be grateful and that you would be able to see the things about them that are really awesome, and that also pray for them that they would be able to, that the Lord would soften their hearts and that they would be more present, that they would be, less difficult, whatever it may be. And so I think
pray that for yourself.
Yeah, I'd say it starts with prayer for yourself, and then also prayer for your spouse. But so many times, and we talk about this too, is when we come across difficult situations, the first thing we'll do is talk to a friend or talk to someone else or come up with a game plan of what we need to do.
I'm a problem solver.
Yeah, instead of running to the Lord. And so when it's difficult, run to the Lord in prayer. Then I think another thing you would want to do is reflect on what attracted you to them in the first place, because they are still that person, even if it's been a long time, even if there's been a lot of change, that person, no matter how buried deep inside, is still present, and so it's
to
just
some degree. I would say that idea of you're not married to the same person you were married to.
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's just hey, the fun, free flowing, whatever it was that attracted you to them in the first place, they still have aspects of that. And so just reflect on the things that really attracted you to them in the first place. And then this is a big one. I think you need to remember that distance or hardening is often a sign of pain, where it's like a response to something hard for them. And so start by asking gently hey, you seem a little distant lately. What's been weighing on you? Or, it's just like, hey, how can I make you feel seen? How can I make you feel appreciated? How can I help? It just feels like we're disconnected, that you're distant, everything like that. Because I think defensiveness, coldness, this can often be a self-protective response to stress or trauma or feeling unseen or feeling overwhelmed. And so it starts with, hey, what's been weighing on you? What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And then lastly is what I would say to this is keep showing up with small acts of kindness. Because ultimately, if gratitude is something that you are called to, like that's not based on what your spouse does or who they are. That's ultimately a call for you to be obedient in. And so you can still, even if they're distant, even if they're hardened, you can still pursue small acts of kindness for them, whether that be to making their coffee for them, praying over them while they're sleeping offering while they're sleeping, yeah, offering kind words to them, even if you feel like they don't reciprocate or they don't receive it well or something like that. And I think it goes back to that idea of Romans 12:21, like, do not be overcome by evil, be overcome evil with good. Like, and so
I think it makes me think of, this is a side note and maybe very niche, but do you remember the love dare in Fireproof?
Yeah.
The idea of relentlessly pursuing despite what's reciprocated or not.
Yes, because that's really good, because I think that I was just going to touch on that.
Is it really good? It was just a random little nugget I remembered.
No, because that's exactly what I was going to touch on is like you can do all of those things without them reciprocating at all. And so those are all within your control, that mindset shift, that heart shift, and then those small acts of kindness. Like you can do all of those things even if they don't reciprocate.
Right. Yeah, which I think can sometimes be freeing to people who, I don't know, I think it can be freeing to remember that you still have power despite your spouse's actions. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
And then last thing I would say is,
before
again, this isn't going back to our caveat. This isn't a call to just ignore conflict or ignore difficult issues. Like, don't ignore serious issues. We did that whole episode on conflict. So if you've listened to that, you'll know, like, hey, when you bring things up, pursue soft startup, pursue active listening, all of those types of things that we talked about in our conflict episode of just don't ignore it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Start with everything that we've talked with here. And then when it comes to bringing up, pursue gentleness, soft startup, active listening, everything like that. And then also bring in others. Like, don't suffer in isolation. So talk to pastors, talk to mentors, talk to counselors, pursue marriage counseling if your spouse is willing. Do not feel as if you have to just suck it up and be grateful and do it in silence or solitude or by yourself. Bring in others as well.
Yeah, it's good. All right, your 1 degree shift, 1 degree fam.
1 degree fam.
Write down something that you're grateful for your spouse each day, for you can decide how long a period of time or infinitely.
The rest of your lives.
And then share it with them. Maybe you share it with them on a daily basis. Maybe you share it with them after a period of time of, hey, here are things I've seen in you over the last month. I think that would be a sweet surprise.
Yeah.
But do that.
Yep. And I would encourage you to, if, like I alluded to or said earlier, is we end our weekly marriage meetings every single week with 3 things that we appreciate about each other. And so, if you have listened to us and you've heard about the weekly marriage meeting and you're like, you haven't done it yet, I would just highly encourage you.
Link it in the show notes, the free template.
That's right. Start with the weekly marriage meeting, because all of this is going to be, you'll have opportunities to pursue gratefulness in the midst of your weekly marriage meeting.
Yep. All right, my last call to action for you is if you're listening and you're not subscribed or you're not following, depending on whether you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which are, I feel like, the primary 2 you're probably listening on, do that so you don't miss a new episode. Back to weekly here, 1 degree fam, weekly episodes. All right, we'll catch you next week, 1 degree fam.
Love you, fam. Peace out.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of the 1 Degree Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd be so appreciative if you take just a few seconds to leave a rating and a quick review. We love to hear your feedback, and those ratings really do help make it easier for others to find this podcast.
And if you want to continue this chat or share your takeaways, we'd love to hear from you. Head on over to our Instagram at the 1 Degree Podcast and leave a comment or send us a DM. We can't wait to hear from you. Catch you next week, 1 Degree fam.